Your dog is standing in the corner of the room, still, completely still, eyes fixed on a point on the wall about 3 feet up, seeing something you can't see. Most people grab their phone. They film it. They post it with a ghost emoji and 27 laughing reactions. And that is completely understandable because it looks absurd and harmless and a little bit funny. But here is what almost no one tells you. That moment you filmed and laughed about may have been the most important medical signal your dog has ever sent you. The popular explanation is that they heard something. A mouse in the wall. A pipe expanding. Something too high-pitched for human ears. And honestly, that sounds reasonable. Dogs can hear frequencies more than twice the range of human hearing. A dog investigating a strange sound will glance at the wall, tilt its head, maybe sniff the air, and then move on. The episode ends. The dog re-engages with the world. But what if the dog doesn't move on? What if they stay locked in that stare for 30 seconds, a minute longer, and nothing you do reaches them? Here is what nobody says in the comments section of those viral videos. A dog staring blankly at a wall can be in the middle of a seizure, not the kind you recognize, not the kind with shaking and falling and foaming. A focal seizure, sometimes called a partial seizure, affects only one small region of the brain. It fires abnormal electrical activity in one specific zone while the rest of the brain continues running normally. The dog stays upright. The dog looks awake. The dog looks, from the outside, like it is watching something you can't see, and in a way, it is, because the misfiring brain is generating sensation or visual disturbance or an emotion with no source. The dog is not hunting a ghost. The dog's brain is producing one. The most commonly affected region in canine focal seizures is the temporal lobe. That is the part of the brain that governs emotion, sensation, and memory, not abstract functions. The part that decides what things feel like. When a focal seizure fires there, the dog may experience sudden unexplained fear, a strange smell that isn't there, a visual flicker at the edge of its perception. It has no way to tell you. All it can do is stare. And here is the thing that changes everything. You would never know. There is no visible tremor, no collapse, no dramatic signal that the nervous system is misfiring. The dog looks like a dog being a dog, a little weird, a little mysterious, a little viral. Most owners see it once and laugh. They see it a second time and shrug. They see it a third time and film it again. And in the meantime, focal seizures that go unobserved, unrecorded, and unreported are significantly harder for veterinarians to diagnose. The window to catch something early quietly closes. But focal seizures are not the only thing this behavior can mean. And depending on your dog's age, the explanation might be something different, and in some ways even heavier. Canine cognitive dysfunction affects 28% of dogs between 11 and 12 years old. By the time a dog reaches 15 or 16, that number climbs to 60%. 6 in 10 senior dogs, it is the canine equivalent of dementia, and one of its earliest and most consistent signs is blank staring. Dogs with CDs get stuck. They stare at walls. They walk into corners and can't figure out how to turn around. They lose the thread of where they are and who they're with, and most of the owners living with this have no idea what is happening. They think the dog is getting old. They think it is slowing down. They don't know there is a name for it, and they don't know the name means something. There is also a third possibility, one that lives not in the neurology of seizures or cognitive decline, but in the neurology of stress. Canine compulsive disorder produces intense, hard-to-interrupt staring episodes in dogs who are chronically understimulated, chronically anxious, or who have been accidentally rewarded for the behavior. The mechanism is different from a focal seizure, but the behavior from across the room looks nearly identical, and it is not harmless either. Compulsive staring driven by chronic stress is a nervous system signal. The dog is not bored. The dog is suffering in a way that looks, from the outside, almost peaceful. And in rare cases, rare but real, Blank staring and sudden behavioral changes are the first and only early signs of a brain tumor. Frontal and olfactory lobe tumors in dogs can present with focal seizures as the sole initial symptom. Nothing else. No dramatic change, just a dog staring at something you cannot see. So you have a behavior that millions of people have laughed at and shared. And underneath it are 4 genuinely different medical explanations: a misfiring brain, a mind slowly losing itself, a nervous system drowning in stress, or something more serious still. They all wear the same face. They all look like a dog watching a ghost. The honest answer is that you can't diagnose this at home, but you can observe it in a way that matters. There are specific signals that separate benign staring from something that needs a veterinarian. Duration is the first one. A dog briefly investigating a sound glances and moves on. An episode that lasts more than 30 seconds without natural resolution is worth noting. Interruptibility is the second. Call your dog's name, offer a treat, make a sudden, clear sound. A dog in the middle of normal canine curiosity will break the stare and look at you. A dog in the middle of a neurological event often cannot. The stare holds. The dog does not come back. The third signal is what happens after. Watch the 30 seconds following the episode. Does the dog seem slightly disoriented? Drink water suddenly and excessively? Act clingy or dazed in a way that doesn't quite fit the moment? That post-episode window, what neurologists call the post-ictal phase, is one of the clearest indicators that something happened in the brain. Most owners miss it entirely because they stopped watching when the staring stopped. If you see those 3 things together, duration, uninterruptibility, post-episode confusion, call your vet. Not in a panic, but do not wait to see if it happens again. It probably will. Here is the one thing that turns this from worrying into useful. If it happens again, film it, not to post, not for the comments. Film it because a vet who can watch 30 seconds of that episode can learn more than a vet who has only your memory of it. Home video of a suspected focal seizure is one of the most diagnostically valuable things an owner can bring into a clinic. Your phone, pointed at your dog, becomes a medical instrument. The impulse that sent those videos viral can become the thing that saves a dog's life. Most of us have already been there. Most of us have already watched a dog stare at nothing and laughed and moved on. That is not a failure. That is not something to feel guilty about. You were reading the behavior with the information you had. Now you have more, and that is the only thing that changes the outcome. Your dog is going to stare at a wall again, maybe tonight, maybe next week, and this time you will watch it differently. You won't grab your phone to film it for a laugh. You will watch the clock. You will say the dog's name. You will watch what happens in the 30 seconds after the dog comes back. You will be the kind of owner who catches the thing that looks like nothing, because you know now that nothing can be something. That is what it means to actually pay attention to an animal who cannot tell you what they're experiencing. If this changed how you see your dog, subscribe and leave a comment. Tell me, have you ever seen your dog do this, and did you know what you were looking at? And if you want to understand what other behaviors you might be reading completely wrong, that is the next video. The science behind it is stranger and closer to home than you'd expect.